So welcome today for a webinar on the Baptist Management System, specifically on shepherding groups. My name is Brandon Brown with Continuous Coaching Commitment. I have online helping me today, Beth Carrington. Beth, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Brandon. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first of 3 webinars on shepherding groups.
So the topics we're going to be talking about in these webinars, we're on a mission to create sustained improvement through an engaged organization. So really, what does a kata of your kata mean? Well, that's what the shepherding group is doing. They're performing kata on all of the katas at the specific entities. You can see there that we're at revision PDSA 3.3. We hope that in a year, 2 years from now, we've learned so much from you all out there practicing kata here at Baptist that Beth and I have moved this to Rev 10 possibly, right, Beth?
Absolutely. We're learning something new every day.
So what a shepherding group does, in the lower left corner, you'll see repeated, creating sustained improvement through an engaged organization. That's the purpose of the shepherding group, and what we want the shepherds doing as they're going out to the kata boards is exactly on the blue brain to show us your thinking. So what are some of the characteristics of a shepherding group? Well, that would be, number one, leading with humility. We also want the shepherds to be practicing and modeling the improvement kata, treating people as individuals, being accountable with support, and challenging with encouragement, exhibiting empathy for those learners that may be struggling or those coaches that may be struggling. We want the shepherds to be emulating, creating positive habits through improved behaviors and moving into a positive culture. Respecting every individual and putting needs of others first, as well as practicing the skill of kata coaching. Those are some of the characteristics that we're looking for in shepherding groups and why we've asked certain individuals to be on shepherding groups of different types. So the mental model that we are using within the Baptist Management System is really the kata trajectory, as we call it. It's imperative to the process. It starts with understanding the direction or defining the challenge for that particular area. We must step back then and grasp the current condition, then envision or create the next target condition. You'll notice there's also successive target conditions in order for us to get to the challenge. But they're at the heart of the matter. If you've watched the webinar on obstacles, is we use PDSA as a countermeasure to go around those obstacles or overcome or eliminate those. This is simply a mental model or a mental routine. It stays the same regardless of the circumstances. It's really a routine way of thinking and acting. That's what kata is all about. So if you've watched Skip's video on his gears presentation on the Baptist Management Systems, you'll notice he quotes George Box, all models are wrong, but some are useful. And in that video series, what we're talking about is that we're fighting entropy. And we must plan, do, study, adjust at every point, whether it be at strategic A3s, as Skip mentioned, through our daily huddles, through our tactical A3s. And kata is really the lubrication that keeps this system going. It's what helps us in the lower left corner create sustained improvement through an engaged organization. And to do this, we have to play catchball. If you recall from the video that Skip did, we don't play catchball every day like Toyota does. And what is catchball? Well, it really refers to the give and take required between management levels and staff during the planning and experimentation process. So several parts of catchball that we can use. We can use it as strategies and tactics that cascade throughout the organization. It's the vision and the daily activities of the frontline team members that are linked together. We can validate and align and cascade our way of thinking throughout all of these levels and through all of these parts of the Baptist Management System. And Beth, I think you might have added their part D. It's a scrubbing process that's conducted to help management and employees understand what's real.
Right.
You want to speak to that for a second?
Well, it gets to the idea of alignment and having deep alignment in the sense that everyone understands their role from the process level all the way to the strategic initiative. And the scrubbing that occurs really helps assure that laser focus alignment is occurring, and that we're actually working on the things we need to do, not all of the things that we can do. So it scrubs the unnecessary activities out of away from us and keeps us focused on the real issues at hand.
Exactly. Like part E there, you're engaging in reality-based discussions with foundation of mutual respect. On the right there, it's transforming strategic initiatives, as Beth was talking about, so they're relevant to the process owners up and down the organization. Down at the bottom, the shepherding group is a means or a pathway that help us create that daily catchball to help link the various elements of the management system together. So it's what helps aid us in this catchball process. Mm-hmm. In this meta routine that we're talking about, it's really for all levels of the organization. The coaching kata is expanded in all levels and helps develop the catchball routine and chain of accountability. You'll notice from the administrator level or director level, management level, each level above sets the direction for the level below, not necessarily the specific challenge or the vision, but at least guides the direction from the target condition above to the next level below. Again, it's for every level of the organization, CNO to director level, manager level, head nurse. That's the meta routine that we're trying to get to. Higher levels, higher in the organization challenges, they'll be more strategic in nature and multifaceted. As we move closer to the process, the challenges become more specific. So a chief nursing officer may have a challenge that deals with improving patient care while reducing costs and increasing patient experience. However, down at the head nurse level, that challenge may deal with reducing falls on his or her unit or shift. Again, we're creating sustained improvement through an engaged organization with this meta routine. Here's another perspective. We have various focus processes, Team A, Team B, Team C. They have separate target conditions, all leading up to a challenge, such as pneumonia readmissions, maybe the overarching challenge. Team A is working on the MDM process. Team B is the pharmacy, working on the pharmacy process. They may be using a kata for that. Team C may be using a kata on the discharge process. Also that we don't have the readmissions due to the pneumonia infections. So it's just an example and another perspective. So what we're really trying to achieve is the learner is back here in this predictability zone. And there's a knowledge threshold, and the obstacles and issues the improver works on, they're going to be different every time. The obstacles and issues are going to vary with the situation as we try and PDSA our way through this uncertainty and learning zone on our way to the next target condition of where we want to be. It's the coach that uses the habitual thinking pattern. We have the 5 question cards as kind of the skeleton of the kata, the starter, to get us going in this dialogue and this discussion. The coach's job is to ensure the improver is consistently applying the pattern each step of the way to change the mindset. So it doesn't matter if it's a radiology group, a clinical group, a non-clinical group, an administrative group. The obstacles will vary with the situation. The coach is using the same pattern. In other words, the what can always be different within an organization, but the how remains the same, the method that the coach uses. So I'm going to turn it over to Beth and let her continue on from this point of the shepherding group presentation.
Thanks, Brandon. I want to talk a bit more about the how element, not necessarily the what you're working on, but the how we go about daily improvement. And it's through the habitualization of a very particular behavior. A little slow on the mouse there, sorry. So again, talking about the how is the kata, the routines, the improvement kata and the coaching kata. And a kata is nothing more than a way of doing. And to really develop skill in that routine, there is a skill development roadmap. And it always starts with awareness, developing any kind of skill. whether you're going to learn how to drive a car or play tennis or perform the improvement kata, it starts with awareness. Awareness building is what also called passive learning. And there's all sorts of passive learning. There's web materials. You can go out and see videos. You can go out and download a handbook. You can read the Toyota Kata book. You can visit the new YouTube site and see others practicing their kata. There's also the domino challenge that Skip runs everyone through. That's still just passive learning. It sets the stage for further skill development, but this is just building awareness. Again, playing dominoes, using the tools of the improvement kata in a initial coach setting, building that initial awareness. Where we're taking people next is once you have awareness, you can begin to develop skill. And there are various skill building activities you would do, including master coaching, being a coach, being a learner in your actual processes. This skill development is very important, but it again starts with awareness, being aware, so that then you're able to do. Once you're able to do, then you're able to coach. Once you're able to coach, then you're in a multitude of settings, then you're able to teach it. So this initial piece that we're going to talk about today is building initial capability in the routines of the improvement kata and coaching kata. And we build that individual skill through rotating through all of the roles. So the different roles, the first one would be the learner, which is what we would call the natural process owner. That learner works in the bubble with the team, the people actually doing the work, and they practice the improvement kata. They own the target condition and work to achieve it. Their manager is what we would call the coach. That coach is responsible for teaching the improvement kata, and they're also responsible for the results. We often say if the learner isn't learning, the coach isn't effectively coaching. So we do hold that coach responsible to make sure the learner is practicing in the corridor of the improvement kata and achieving results. There's a third role that you would rotate through, and it's called the second coach. The second coach is responsible for assuring the development of the coach and assuring that alignment is occurring to the organizational goals and objectives.
Beth, if I could add one thing there, I've actually experienced a director start out as the learner, which that's where we want them to start. Learn first and then move to coach and second coach as we rotate. I've had a couple of directors actually go back through and say, I want to be a learner again. And because I've learned so much through coaching and I see where I could do a better job and I want another chance at being a learner. I don't know if you've experienced that, but I've had a couple of groups here at Baptist interesting enough wanting to do that.
Yes, I've seen the same thing. Some of our people do a continuous rotation. So they set up a schedule that during the month of, let's say, April, that director is a second coach, but in the month of May, they may rotate into the learner role, and the month of June, they're in the coach role. And they're just continuously flowing through those groups as you learn more about being a learner by being a coach. But what we ask people to do at the beginning is our initial practitioners, we ask them to rotate through the roles to develop skill. Practitioners must perform experimental PDSAs as learners. Then we also want practitioners to perform coaching cycles as a coach, guiding a learner through experimental PDSAs. And then we also want our practitioners to perform as second coaches. There's really no shortcut to becoming an effective kata coach. there's no way to develop a skill without practice. There's no way to develop or habitualize, internalize the kata other than performing it. So our title, our position, our years of experience don't make us a coach. It's a skill we must learn.
Exactly.
And yeah, building awareness, responsibility, and self-belief is the goal of a coach. A coaching management style and culture results in getting the job done well for 250 days a year, developing people for 250 days a year, and lots of self-belief. We believe without coaching, we lose our way and we don't practice the right patterns. We don't practice effectively. Our practice may eventually become ineffective. Learning poor behaviors could lead to performing, not performing as we expect. Without coaching, rarely do we see a change in mindset. It's just our brain's wiring. It's unlikely to occur without effective coaching.
And I've seen, Beth, as you mentioned there in that slide, people who think that they, due to experience, management skill, coaching skills at previous projects they've worked on, think they can go right to that second coach role. But without doing, like you were saying, and without practicing the skill of being a learner and the skill of being a first coach, I've seen groups struggle because their second coach never went through that learner role. And that's
Right.
a very key point.
Yep. I think, well, there's a 1, 2, 3 of coaching, Brandon, that we've heard about in other areas, and it applies here. So the 1, 2, 3 of coaching is if you step into a coach role, the first thing I do is I observe deeply, right? And that's the idea of the coach asking the 5 questions. I'm running my learner through the routines of the improvement kata by asking questions. And as that learner responds to those questions, I perform the second act of the 1, 2, 3 of coaching. And that is that I compare my learner's replies, my learner's statements, my learner's activities to the mental model I have in my head of what quote unquote good looks like.
Right.
If I haven't practiced being a learner and I haven't internalized and habitualized those routines, I don't have a mental construct to compare it to. So then I can't do the effective third step of an effective coach, which is giving corrective action, corrective feedback. So that second step where you observe deeply, compare what you are observing to quote unquote what good looks like, you need to have good internalized in your head.
Right. Without it, you can't compare it to anything. You can't compare your own experience.
It would be like me trying to coach you in baseball. I've probably hit a baseball with a bat maybe 10 times in my life, right? I don't know how to hold it properly. I don't know how to swing properly. I could watch baseball on television and then compare what I see in you, right, to some of the great hitters, but it would take too much time, right? And I wouldn't be able to compare into that mental construct. So the idea is you have to be able to do it before you're able to coach it, and definitely before you're able to teach it. And we have a Dreyfus skill acquisition model. Dreyfus were 2 psychologists out of Berkeley back in the 70s developed this skill acquisition, where there are 5 levels of skill with being a coach. And you start out as a novice, right? That's when you're aware, and then you begin practicing and you're beginning to do it, but you still need some effective coaching to be able to do it well. Once you've practiced enough, you become competent. Now you're able to step into that effective coach role. And if you've done coaching in enough environments, and there's no shortcut to this, it just takes time and practice, you become proficient, and then you're able to teach it. and ultimately you're an expert, or here at Baptist, what's called an eternal learner. And that's what we all like to do, right? Be that eternal learner. I learn every day. I'm out with people here at Baptist.
Yeah. And I like how this picture shows it. Going from advanced beginner to competent is not the same ratio as going from awareness to being able to do it.
Right.
It's definitely a steeper step to be able to reach that level.
I'd say a couple of things additional to that. One is you can be competent, develop and demonstrate competent skill. And it is the skill that's the competency, not the person itself. It's a person with competent skill. But if you're put in a brand new process, a brand new type of process, a new environment, you may backstep a little, right? Because you're going to face new challenges, new process obstacles. So sometimes you can float back and forth from competent to advanced beginner until you get enough experience that a process is a process is a process.
Sure, exactly.
And again, we use this Dreyfus model tool, and there's many of them out there. But the whole idea of the Dreyfus model tool is not to label people as an advanced beginner or competent, but rather to help us understand what we need to practice to increase our skill. And that's the most effective use of a skill assessment, is not to label people with a skill, but to really help them learn what do I need to practice on to really increase my skill.
Right.
I think that's where we're going to wrap up today's webinar, Brandon. And next time we come, we're going to start a conversation on building kata coaching capacity, right? The idea of the rotation of the roles is to build individuals capability. But next time we get together, we're going to talk, how does an organization build capacity across their organization?
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll move on to the next section in our next series.
Awesome. Till next time, Brandon.
All right. See you, Beth.